Good evening and welcome back to Jacinda Lady Truck'n Live on the Unplugged Radio Network right here every Wednesday night on Lady Truck'n Live. We had special guest Idella Hansen come on as our first guest this evening, joining us with Truckers Christmas Group. And I want to give a nice warm welcome. I'm moving on to my next guest, and a proud sponsor of Lady Truck'n Live every Wednesday night is Porter Freight Funding, welcoming special guest Will Leyva with Porter Freight Funding. Hey, Will, how's it going?
Doing good. What's up, Truck'n fam? Excited to be here with Jacinda. Man, this is it's exciting.
I'm so honored to have you on the show tonight. Thank you for making time, and thank you, Porter Freight, for allowing Will to join me this evening. So I am honored, as you all know. If you don't know, I'm going to tell you now. I have been invited and I've joined the team at Porter Freight Funding, a factoring company based out of Birmingham, Alabama, with over 30 years of trucking industry factoring experience. I'm honored to be a part of the team, and thank you to all of you for being so welcoming. I appreciate that. So in introducing myself and Porter Freight Funding out there, factoring. Some of us know, some of us don't. So I'm honored to have you here. I've had a lot of questions come in, and we are here to give the facts on factoring. So thank you for coming on. And yes.
Yeah, let's do it. There's a lot to know, a lot to learn, a lot of details, we like to cover. So, we can jump right into it. Some burning questions. Let's
so
jump
many,
into it.
so many. We're going to hit the one right on the head. We're going to get it right out of the way. Okay, so we can move on to more in-depth, important factors that people seem to overlook besides price and rates. Okay, that's at the bottom of it. Okay, we're talking about customer service, convenience, comparison, and our no BS philosophy at Porter Freight Funding. So let's get that rates issue right out of the way, so we can actually let people know what really is important in selecting a factoring company.
Yeah, so rates. I would say about 90% of my calls start off with, what's your guys' rate? Right? It's like that burning question. I'm like, oh man, like this is not the best way to start off a conversation with a factoring company. The rule of thumb is like, if you're searching for a specific rate or the lowest rate, they're going to tell you what you want to hear, right? And that's kind of like the caveat to like a lot of factoring companies. It's like, you're going to ask the question, they're going to give you that answer, and like whoever comes in at the lowest number typically is going to be the one that wins. But the question you should be asking yourself is, okay, at this lower price, what am I sacrificing? Right? It's low for a reason. There's usually a range for a lot of factoring companies where they put their pricing, but if you go with the lowest person, what are you expecting to get back? Are you anticipating not the level of customer service that you would hope to get? Because you're going to get what you pay for. You don't have a dedicated account rep to help out on your account. They may not pick up the phone when you call. Paperwork may sit for a day or two that doesn't get processed, right? So there's a lot that goes into it. So a lot of what we try to do is educate. If we given the opportunity, we really like to educate truckers on how factoring works, right? Really the ins and outs. And it's not a quick 2-3 minute conversation, and it can't be. You're talking about the financing for your business, something that's going to keep you moving on your day to day. So why would you not want more information about the people that are, keeping you moving, right?
People that are handling your money,
right? You wake up in the morning and that money is sitting there and you're like, yes, right? I'm going to get to the next load, right? So if it works like clockwork, that's basically the function of it. Submit your bill, get your money the next day to get to the next load. And I think the end goal too, and kind of like that fairy tale story ending for a lot of like factoring companies, or for us in particular here at Porter Freight Funding, is that they get to the point where they don't need factoring, right? They used it in a smart enough way where they were able to build up enough capital they can run off of their own money. And at that point, it's just them in the road and getting from load to load at that point. And that rhyme, so that was kind of cool, right? That wasn't intentional, although I have a lot of rhymes written here on my notebook, but that was not intentional. So
And And what I love is also what you just said was the encouragement. We want you to use us with a goal in mind. We want to help you, grow. What was that quote? One of the what was it? This we're gonna go all over the success stories was empowering success stories. That is
Exactly.
a quote on the page, and
Yeah,
that stood out to me. We are empowering success stories.
100%.
That's beautiful. So let us carry you and help you. And in the background, something I was thinking when you were describing learning each other from your business to your factoring company is basically you're doing a background check on each other.
Exactly.
Where do you come from and where are you coming? So you're getting to know one another. And in speaking on that, is the direct customer service. We want you to know your representative, your account representative. So you're building the familiarity and the comfort of someone handling your money, your finances.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's hard to put a price to on having your go-to person, right? Having
Mhm.
someone that you can call and get information on that knows your account, that you've built up a rapport with, right? I think at that point, it becomes less of a company you're using to like help you out with financing and more of like an actual relationship with a factoring company and a trucking business, because there's really few like services that stay on with a trucker as they actually start their business, right? Everything at the very beginning, they start with their MC and DOT number, they get a million phone calls from everybody. But at the end of the day, insurance, factoring companies, maybe a few other things kind of stick with you. And factoring companies is probably one of the most important, just again, because of the financing element to it. So you really want to make sure that works really well, that it meshes really well. Um, and again, that's why I always say, you really got to dig in on the details of what the factoring company is going to do for you, after you're a client. That's got to be the most important part.
And with experience that Porter Freight has in the trucking industry, there was a very important being reputable. For example, CDO Life picked up and published an article about Porter Freight funding.
Yeah.
They believed in us and they wanted to share that, and they were confident enough in our services to put that out there, through their page, the one-stop shop and 6 ways for your trucking business.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that, because I like that philosophy and not being vague about it, but a one-stop shop to start and maintain. So come on in, let's get you going and empower your success story as you go on.
Yeah, definitely. So like I mentioned before, it's when you're starting up a trucking business, there's a lot of things you have to do, right? And there's that time frame, right? You have 3 weeks, right? There's that 3 week time frame where you're like, I got to get everything put together. I need to get all these forms filled out. I need to get these tests done. I need to do a million things, right? So what we try to provide is as many resources to a new carrier as possible. We want them to be able to rely on us and trust our expertise. As you mentioned, we have a lot of years in the factoring industry, 30 years, and a lot of the relationships that we cultivate aren't just, hey, what can we get from this partnership, right? We really try to vet the companies that we partner with, because again, we have a reputation to uphold as a company that's been in business for 30 plus years. We want to make sure we partner with people that share our same goals, that want to take care of our customers as well. So, if we can help out with compliance, with trailer leasing, with insurance, with BOC3, with factoring, all those different things, again, we hold ourselves to that standard, but we also hold our partnerships to that standard as well. But we also want to create that convenience for carriers where they know that, hey, these guys, if they tell me I should go to this person, that
Mm-hmm.
they can trust us when we say that. So that's
Absolutely, because word
what
of mouth, trust, trucking fam, people are going to take the recommendations or suggestions that other drivers make, because what do we do out here as a family? We communicate, we share stories. Life, love, trucking, business, it's all one together. So it's super important for someone to relay that message, the satisfactory that they're receiving from whom they're working with, and that goes a long ways.
Oh yeah, definitely. We get a lot of referrals from our clients, and they like the service. They know that we're holding up our end of the bargain, and so they're our biggest referral partners that we have is the carriers that are out on the road. They're talking to other truckers. If they have a complaint or something about their factoring company, then they give our information, which is great. They help us out in that way. And, we provide a little incentives on our side as well. But again, you wouldn't pitch something to somebody if you thought they were terrible, right? Like you'd be like the worst friend ever if you're like, hey, come join my like terrible factoring company.
Sure, this smell this.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, yeah. Come put your nose in this. What is that? Um, but again, it really is that like you said, it's the trucker to trucker interactions where they're really vouching and they're going to go out of their way to say, hey, you know what, my company actually, they do what they say they're going to do. They buy my bills, they get me paid next day. When I call, they answer. I never have to worry about what my factory company is doing, or if they're scamming extra money from me. And I think that's another thing too, is a lot of the nickel and diamond that goes on in the industry. That's something that Porter Freight really tries to feel for on the carrier side. They're providing a lot of they're paying a lot of bills for other people, right? And that's something too that we keep in mind. And we're like, you know what? We want to make sure that we're taking care of our carriers because they take care of us, right? In turn. So we want to make sure that we're looking out for these guys and providing the best service that we can.
And I appreciate the knowledge and the resources and the advice you give, especially like in a contract. There's really no hidden fee or hidden words. That's something that I know is held up with integrity at Porter Freight, is relaying the most accurate information to the carriers. So what I'd like you to do is kind of give us a brief, or however in depth you want to go, of the process of a factoring service. Some of us have never heard of it. Okay, so someone is starting their business, what does that mean, and how can that help a new person or even an established person? But I want you to present it new.
Sure.
Will, what is factoring?
So factoring is a great way to stay up on your cash flow for your business. So you don't have to worry about trying to get loans from the bank or anything like that, right? We help to keep your business afloat by buying bills that typically take 30 to 45 days for payment, and we get them paid out to you right away. And I like to let people know it does a couple things for you. So on the money side, obviously it keeps you running on your day to day. On the other hand, it also opens up a lot more avenues for you as a carrier that's booking loads in a really competitive area. It's competitive on load boards, and you really have to be on the trigger when it comes to securing something. So you can't worry about things like a 30 or 45-day waiting period for payment, right? So for a new carrier, it really opens up those avenues because they have that advantage of saying, I don't care when they pay, because as long as they're good with my factoring company, I can haul the load. I don't have to second guess it. So it gives them a leg up. They're not only looking for quick pay loads or, loads that pay out in 7 days. They can send that bill to the factoring company and we get it paid right away. So a couple different benefits on that side. When it comes to actually, setting up, we have an application process. We talk with them, we go through rates and programs, we find out what they want. And that's another big part of it, is listening, right? You can talk with a million factoring companies, but really our job is to listen to the carrier and figure out what they want, right? I'm not here to tell you what I think is best for your business. I want you to tell me, hey, this is my goal. This is what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to grow my business. What can you do for me if I add 2, 3, 5 trucks? I want to do something where I'm able to build up my own cash flow and maybe not need you guys in 3, 4, 5 months. Not a problem. We offer really flexible programs, year programs, 6-month programs, month to month. So we really will kind of display that and say, hey, this is what we can offer as far as these programs are concerned. And then from there, you kind of pick and choose. Do you want recourse, non-recourse? Just different things. Again, we just try to customize it the best we can.
Strategizing a business plan together to be the most efficient and beneficial for the driver, but also, with Porter Freight offering the best, program. I like that word better.
Yeah.
Offering the best program that suits your trucking business goals. I love words.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's that contract, right? The contract, you're like, oh my gosh, it sounds so scary. Like, I don't want to get sucked into something. And like you mentioned earlier, we try our best to like put everything in the light. You know what I mean? We're not trying to hide stuff in all the legal garb, having you read like a 50-page contract, that's not what we're here to do. we're here to say, hey, we're giving you what we told you we're going to give you. Here's your rate, here's the program, this is what we, kind of discussed and what we built out for your business. So they have that clear vision of, okay, great, like this is exactly what we talked about. And there's no games, no hidden fees, no nothing that we're not trying to, tell you about. You get signed on and all of a sudden, we get your firstborn or anything like that, so we we want to try to keep it simple. We're service, you use us as you need us. That's really what it boils down to.
And being, with trucking, it's a 24/7 business. Having the accessibility to someone, your funds, your questions is super important. And I liked how we went into, the approval process and then the initial setup. Porter Freight is really striving to simplify your accessibility and relaying, communicating, and transferring the information you need, even beyond phone calls. That's something that I really liked, working towards the, you know,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
okay.
So yeah, we're striving to um, really just get things moving on the technology side. By the beginning of, I think it's this next year, we're looking to get an app up and going to really kind of ease things for our clients. We really, again, it's um, putting money into things that are going to help ease the lives of a trucker. And
Mhm.
so if that means, hey, we have an app now that you can submit bills, you can do credit checks, everything in one app, then
Mhm.
that's what we want to do. And so we've been working on that. That's something that we're going to launch hopefully the beginning of next year. And
Mhm.
we're super excited for it. We do get calls and people are like, hey, do you guys have an app? And finally I'm going to be like, heck yeah, we do. Yeah, we got it now. Download it, check it out. But um, again, it's about convenience. Like you said, you guys are hauling, you're going, 24 hours a day,
Mhm.
and we want that convenience to be there. You're in your truck, you have little resources, so let's bring all the resources to one app.
I was the first one to tell you we want to drive and get paid. Okay, so the least work we have to do, and that's in establishing and building the trust with our monies and who's handling our money is and enabling us to do so. Truck, submit, get paid.
Yeah,
Happy.
there it is. Exactly. Yep. Move on to the next, right?
Yes,
It's like,
yes.
hey, I'm done with that one. Let's go on to the
Because
next
that
one.
was
So
the first thing I had said. You said, "Oh, that's simplified," and I know even myself. I just want to drive, know I'm getting paid, that week or the next day, and keep on trucking. It's true.
exactly. Yep.
And and so in doing so, setting up the welcome call and setting up your personalized account and the convenience factor, which is continuing to build. So through the app that's coming, but right now just submitting your information that you need with a quick picture, PDF or something like that to get that in. So that is something that's super important. And where am I going here? All over, all over, all over. There's so
We
many
can bounce around. No problem. Hey, I'm
amount.
flexible. Let's do whatever you want to do.
I just have so many questions, and I've been asked so many questions, and and relaying that in this short amount of time is awesome. So, in the six stop shop, you're setting up your portal, you're customizing, personalizing your account. Where does it go from there?
Yeah. So once everything is set up,
Uh-huh.
then you're set up with a dedicated account rep. Then from
Mhm.
that point forward, that account rep, you have their number. Anytime you need something, anytime there's questions about your account, anything that comes up, you can get in contact with your direct dedicated account rep. And
Mhm.
so they help you out every step of the way once you're onboarded. And the good thing about it is that it's not like you're just calling into some 800 line, especially when you're busy, you're trying to figure out what's going on with the load. You don't want to have to sit there on hold. You don't want to have to
Mhm.
sit there and hear the background music playing while you're like trying to figure out what the heck is, like, where in the world is my money, right? So you have someone to contact. And I think that too, trying to put myself in the trucker's shoes is, you know, if there's something happening that is hindering me from either finding out what's going on with the load or getting a load paid, I need to know what's going on right then and there, right? That becomes the most important thing. And so having someone that I can contact, that I have their number and I can call them up right away, I think would put me at ease.
Mhm.
I have an issue, let me call my person, boom, they get it taken care of, and then, you're good to go from there. So dedicated account rep is huge. And, I'd like to say you can't really put a price tag on that, although,
Yeah.
we have really competitive rates, right?
Mhm.
But that in itself, I think is priceless, being able to have someone that, you can go to as your go-to person to call with questions or concerns.
And so that's, within trucking, but also just as a human, you seek that validation and familiarity, which builds comfort and confidence. Hey, Will, it's me, Jacinda Lady Truck'n. Oh, hey, how's it going? So that is super important to all.
100%.
And I know within ourselves, within Porter Freight, with me, with you, and the whole team, we're building almost like a Porter Freight book. Okay, we're working on an index of videos for people to refer to as in a specific question. We want to be able to provide that service, not going through a list of questions, but if I call and say specifically, I liked how you went into the recourse and non-recourse. What does that mean, and what's the difference?
Yeah. Yeah. So recourse, non-recourse, that's another big one.
Super.
So there's a little bit of misconception. So a lot of carriers that we talk to, if they're like, hey, I talked with this factoring company, they said if a broker shipper just doesn't pay the bill, then they're just gonna take it on the chin. That's they just deal with it.
Mhm.
And the bad part about it is that my job at that point, right? I take it personally. My job at that point is to say, I'm sorry, but that's not exactly how it works. Right? Not a popular answer, which I get, but if someone's just trying to get a sale and like just telling you whatever it is that you want to hear, of course it sounds really good, right?
Mhm.
Who wants to have to deal with the bill after the fact? Nobody. But
Mhm.
non-recourse is a factoring company saying, hey, if we validate something, we credit check it, and we say they're good to go, then if something happens to that business that they had to file for bankruptcy
Mhm.
and we drop the ball on it, we're going to take the hit for it. So under non-recourse, you are
Mhm.
covered if that company files for bankruptcy, but we approved it, right? That's us holding ourselves accountable. Where it gets misconstrued is where the carriers say, well, they're just gonna, eat the cost regardless, but that's not the case, right? What'll happen is if a broker or shipper doesn't make payment, it'll typically come back to the carrier, right?
Mhm.
What we charge for is to expedite funds and payment to a carrier to bill out their paperwork. But outside of that, that's what we collect our fee for. So, if we're losing, let's say on $1,000, we charge a 3%, and it's $30 that we're making. The expectation from a carrier is that, okay, well, you're going to lose $970 if they just decide not to pay, right? As a financial company, we'd probably be the worst financial company in the world if that's how we ran it, right? It'd be like, yeah, well, if they don't pay, then whatever, we'll just,
No big deal.
yeah, no big deal. I guess we'll just take it out the checks, right? Um, but again, that's always the bad side. I hate being the bad guy in that situation because then I have to go around and like burst bubbles, right? Um, but it's important, that in itself is something that I get a lot, and it's kind of sad just because again, we want to do our best to make sure that we're taking care of the carriers, but you're not taking care of them by leaving out important details like that. Because we hear stories of carriers leaving somebody else because they're like, well, they weren't supposed to charge me back, but they did. And now, they're saying I owe X amount of dollars. And so it just comes from a lack of information. And again, I think with porter billing and how we're encouraged to talk with carriers and really inform them, it just
Mhm.
empowers us to help them have the information that they need. So
'Cause
that's, for me, that's like the porter billing difference. So
yes, and you want to call in to get the facts. Get the facts. Even when I came across, I was asking questions of hearsay. So, encouraging the trucking fam to just call and inquire for clarification. Even more than anything, to find out the facts. From hearsay, because it's super important. Get the facts. Appreciate the people who are taking the time to relay the correct information to you, and decide from there.
100%.
So if you're just real quick, if you're just joining us, I'm going to remind you, thank you for coming on Lady Truck'n Live tonight. I have special guest Will Leyva with Porter Freight Funding, answering all of our factoring and trucking business questions. Helping us out here, clarifying anything that we might have, and empowering success stories. I absolutely love that one. Love it. We're going to take a quick break, real quick. And if you're just calling in, thank you for calling in. We want you to press one and join in our conversation. If you're listening on Facebook, leave a comment. or call in at 516-387-1733 and bring us your questions this evening. We'll be right back. Okay, let me
I love like the music breaks in between, right? It's like really nice to be able just to kind of loosen up a little bit.
because we just get going and it's like, okay.
I know, right?
I like to do that, but I guess I get so into talking because I just love talking that it's like, oh wait, okay, let me take a break real quick.
How long is the break? I might go to the bathroom really quick.
3 to 4 minutes.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Yep. Okay.
Is this your driving playlist?
Yeah. Well, I put some of my songs on here because the radio show's on here.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
I run it from a board there, and then I have to upload MP3s and then drag them over to where do you want to go? I'm trying to think where we can go from here. I have a whole bunch of stuff here. Anything specific else you want me to ask?
No, I mean, up to you. We can do some more questions. You can put me on the spot and be like, hey, how'd you get into factoring? We can always, do some personal stuff too. Like,
okay,
whatever you're comfortable with. I'll follow your lead.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Dancing, right? I'll just, so
and
try not to step on your toes.
Just go with it.
Just going with it.
I love this. This is one of my favorite things. Goals. This all the time.
Yeah, there you go. 100%. Jacinda Lady Truck'n coming at you.
Coming at you. Next stop, Sirius. I'm just getting Sirius exit. Okay, I'm gonna unmute it here real quick. Good evening, Truckin' fam, and welcome back to Jacinda Lady Truck'n Live every Wednesday night right here on the Unplugged Radio Network. We have special guests this evening. We have Will Leyva with Porter Freight Funding answering all of our questions about factoring within the trucking business. With Porter Freight Funding having 30 plus years of trucking factoring experience, we are honored to have him on this evening and answering all of our questions and any comments that we might have. So thank you, Will, for coming on the show and representing Porter Freight Funding. Something I'd like to ask too, here in the trucking industry, we want to know people that are servicing our industry. We want to know your history and your passion that brought you to our trucking industry.
Yeah, definitely. So good question. It's kind of a weird, like roundabout way to actually get into financing, and then more specifically, like trucking financing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go to school for finance or anything like that, right? So I'm not like some college degree, with finance and was, had an expectation of crunching numbers or doing anything like that. So that wasn't my goal. I worked in hotels for about 8 years. And I worked room service, overnight, which if y'all have kids and they want to get into hotel service, that's the like most fun industry to be in when you're young. I've seen so many crazy things, and that maybe we'll say that for a different podcast
That
because
close to driving party buses? Can we relate
yeah,
this?
maybe not that bad. Okay, maybe not that bad. I'll give you that one. But some pretty fun stuff. Um, so I worked overnight in room service, and then I moved to work in the front desk. So I've always like been around people, and I found myself being like energized by being around people. So I knew I always wanted to be in something where I was interacting with people at the very least. So worked in hotels for a number of years. Worked in Dallas for about 6 years. Worked in Florida for about 1 year. And then when I moved to the West Coast, I worked in another hotel in Southern California for about probably close to a year. So again, always around people, but the factoring component came in because I was actually looking to get into hotel sales. And I didn't have experience in sales, but I've always like talked to people. So um, as funny as it sounds, I was looking on Craigslist when that was like still a thing, right? Like scrolling through and like finding like sales gigs on Craigslist, right? Isn't that weird? Of all things, like Craigslist, I found like a factoring job. So,
It's so
um,
Flintstone. Oh.
well, and it was like I don't know, I don't know why that was like my go-to. Like that in itself was kind of a weird decision, but answered an ad on there that for a sales job, and the lady I talked to said, hey, I have a couple different opportunities for you. There's this equipment sales position that you can get into, or there's this finance job that has a really cool fun culture and they do softball, and like she was really talking it up, right? But that was the factoring one. So I tried it out. I got into this working for a factoring company out of Southern California, and I worked there for about 4 years. I didn't expect to stay there initially. I just wanted to get some sales experience. I was going to go back to hotels after, so I could do like hotel sales for groups, um, and I ended up really liking it. I feel like the trucking community and like the truckers that I speak with are so down to earth, and the conversations I have with them are
Personable.
personable. They're more genuine.
Mhm.
I can actually talk to them, and I hear a bunch of like crazy wacky stories, but a lot of the conversations we have are just like really just down to earth conversations. And I think I found myself really gravitating towards that because in hotels, you have to be really proper and yes sir, no sir, and depending on the level of hotel, you're doing your hands like this, and
Mhm.
go this way, your lobby wait, right? um and so I was like, what, this is better fitting for my personality. And that kind of started me on my path. So I worked for a couple different factoring companies before being fortunate enough to land here at Porter Billing, or Porter Freight Factory, or Freight Funding. Sorry, I'm like tripping over my words. But yeah, so starting here and joining the Porter team has been like really cool experience. When they brought me on, they said, hey, we know you know how to sell. We want you to sell the way you've been selling. And through our conversations, they said, you're really good at educating the customer, and like we really want you to stick with that. I can spend 10-15 minutes on a call with somebody. I can spend 30 to 45 minutes on a call with somebody. That's just my personality, and I want to make sure I get every single person I talk to the best information I can. But I was just fortunate enough, I found a factoring company that was like, hey, do it the way you do it. It wasn't like a, hey, here's your goal and you better hit this goal or you're out of here, right? It was like, hey, talk to them about factoring, do it the way you've been doing, and people will set up with you. So it's been great.
And that was really what was very welcoming, like I had mentioned earlier, when I went to meet the Porter Freight team. Extremely welcoming, extremely warm, and it felt like family from the beginning. And having that unity within the company, extends to the trucking fam. If being united, being personable, being accessible, it
Exactly.
becomes a family. So in using Porter Freight Funding, you become a part of our family, And like you said, we call and we have stories because we're out here by ourselves most of the time, and I'm sure you get an earful.
Oh yeah, big. Oh, I mean, I still have clients that still call me just to talk. We talk about how their week's been. What loads are like, where rates are at, personal stuff. Tell me about their kids. I'll tell them about my family. I've had people send me like shirts from their trucking business that they've made. They're like, hey man, like I'm starting to make shirts for my business. Like I'll send you one. What's your address, right? And those are really like the kind of like relationships I love to build. I love like being able to like talk with these guys, and they're always excited and they want to talk, right? They call you specifically, and that in itself, I'm like, that makes you feel good, right? It makes you feel all warm and fuzzy. I have someone that actually cares enough to like call somebody on their, from a factoring company, really. So that's been really cool. I like it a lot.
So it's neat how it becomes your passion, not only solely in your professionalism, but now the personability comes into it, and you're able to bring that together.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
It's like a perfect like melding of the two different things I was looking for. So
mhm.
it fit really really well.
And that's what for me personally to join Porter Freight myself was I felt very comfortable, very family-ish from the beginning. And it's neat when you are sought out for what you have to offer their company. They see your personability, they see your professionalism, and they let you be you. You couldn't have said that better. They know what you do, how you do it, and I appreciate them about me too. And also establishing my trust in what their products are with Porter Freight, it allows me to relay that to my trucking fam. So I said, trucking fam, when I'm winning, you're winning because I believe in it.
Yeah.
And I can relay that.
Definitely. Yeah. And like you said, it's a great crew that, we work with. Big shout out to John Land, Mark Porter. You know, the, love those guys. It's been a great experience. And like you said, you met the team, we're really just down to earth people. We like to have a good time. We work hard, play hard, kind of a scenario that we have going. But again, it's just like one big family. We have a lot of fun. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're doing what's best for our customers. So
And that's what's beautiful about it. And Porter Freight is just growing, through social media is the new route, and investing in that. The teams, like the marketing team, the reps, are just expanding that with everybody's special gifts. Like I like to say, I got the gift of speaking, and now I hear with Porter Freight, sharing that, with our trucking fam. I know you love trucking fam
oh, the
because
truck fam, heck yeah.
good morning, trucking fam.
Right? I felt like honored to be able to say that. I was like, what's up, trucker? I at least had to try it like once, right? What's up, trucker?
Coming at you.
Coming at. I didn't want to do the coming at you. I felt like that would have been like too much for me to do on a first podcast. Maybe on the next one, right? I'll do the whole thing.
On your photo.
Yeah. They were like, man, this guy's so corny. Like that's why see me on the video. They're like, what in the world?
But that's appealing. That's appealing. So if you see Leyva like this or like this, naturally, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. More.
The person who smiled than the person who didn't smile back. It's welcoming.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. And I'll be more goofy than uppity and professional. Like I have the professional side, right? But at the end of the day, I'm like, let's put my collar down. Let's talk, and let's have a good time.
And that's what keeps people coming back.
Yeah.
The personality and also the trust and professionalism. Where, with Porter Freight evolving, okay, not solely with technology, what are some of, the goals or, process evolution in Porter Freight to go through the future with factoring? Is there new things coming into factoring? Has the systems remained the same of the process of the factoring? Obviously, the service stays the same, but on the backside, what evolves from it? What evolves with factoring?
Yeah. So it's come a long way, actually. Back in the day, they used to have to send or like mail in hard copies, right? And so now everybody's just working off of scanned copies, which is huge. You know what I mean? It just saves so much more in postage, and like it's just so much more like cumbersome to have to sit there and like get all your bills together and mail them. And
file.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You have your little accordion file that you're like, playing and yeah. So, it's come a long way. So now you can just scan your bills. There's that ease of just being able to do it that way. You email them in. We get them processed, pretty easily. Once we actually receive them, I mean, from that point, we handle everything on the back end. So the carrier really doesn't have much to worry about. Once we get the bills in, we handle it, we get it paid out, they're on to the next. So as far as like evolution of things that we're trying to do, we're always looking for different ways to really try to expedite the process. If there's anything that we can do to make it easier, simplify the process. Again, with the app coming out next year, we're hoping to have everything that they'll need to do in just one place: credit checks, paperwork submission, looking at agent reports, things that we've purchased. If they need to pull copies, it'll be on there. They have a client portal now that they can do it from, but being able to do it from an app, something that you're like, hey, this is where all my financing and stuff is just right here in this little app. I think that'll help, kind of ease some of the things for some people. And for some people that, a little bit more old school, hey, that's okay. Eventually we'll get everything on the app, but, it'll be a transition process. So, yeah.
So next to factoring, when we talk about, I want to go back a little bit in starting your trucking business. Okay, so factoring is huge with your monies, but tell us how Porter Freight Funding assists in establishing, getting your MC, your DOT, the insurances, because that was some information that I shared.
Yeah.
Next to factoring, your monies are important, but how do you get to that point in making monies with your trucking business?
Definitely. Yeah. So we actually have the ability to help carriers set up their MC and DOT number, right? We can help them file for those different items. So again, as we mentioned earlier, with trying to be a one-stop shop, having the ability to kind of help from the ground up and say, hey, we're going to help you file for your numbers. We also have someone that can assist us with the BOC3s, so we can help them out with that route. And then insurance partners, okay, we're going to get you some insurance quotes. So, a lot of it is really just seeing where they're at, seeing what they're going to need help with, and then being the most helpful that we can with the knowledge that we have. Again, you come into it new and trying to figure out all these things all at once, and it can be a lot, but it's nice to have a helping hand, right? And that's what we're here to do. Hey, we'll help you file your numbers, file for your BOC3, help you with insurance. You need equipment, great. We have some partners we can get you hooked up with. And then, of course, on the back end, hey, we're also going to help get you financed, right? We're going to get you set with factoring and make sure you have money to get from one load to the next. So
how am I going to get fuel for my trucking business? I'm making money. I got my insurance. Okay, so how or where am I getting fuel? I got to get the truck rolling.
Yeah.
Where's that coming to play?
Got the truck rolling, you're trying to get from one load to the next. You're like, okay, I need this money, right? So we do a few different things. So we have fuel cards through EFS that we like to issue out. We'll get those out to the carriers at no cost. So basically they use factoring to fund money to the card. You send us a bill for, let's say, $1,000. We can half it up, put 500 to your fuel card, 500 in your account, and get you rolling that way. But the other thing that we offer are fuel advances. So let's say you're just started your business, but you look at your bank account and you're like, okay, I might have enough gas to pick this up, but dropping it off may be a different story, right? We can advance you up to 45% of your bill before you actually deliver it. So
fuel.
Yes.
Not gas, fuel.
Yeah. So definitely want to be able to help you out on that side, get the fuel that you need for your truck, right? So again, we'll advance up to 45% of your fuel, and help you that way, right? So again, it's trying to be creative. It's trying to figure out different ways to help the carrier, get things rolling, get it initially off the ground, because it's a lot, and sometimes a little bit of help goes a long way. So different things that we try to do to really help the carrier get off the ground.
I got my truck, I got my fuel. Where am I going to find my loads?
Well, so load finding. So there's a few different ways.
Accurate. How am I going to make that much accurate and put in my tank?
Right. So, and that's another question we get, right? So being a factoring company, again, we want to make sure that we're helpful, right? One of the ways we help out on the load side is, as I mentioned before, our partnerships. We partner with a lot of great dispatching companies, again, that we vet. A lot of them are set up so they can help you out with some of the things that a carrier would typically have to do themselves when they set up with the factoring company. If they're pulling off a load boards or something like that, they have to credit check. Then from there, once they finish the load, they have to submit the paperwork. The dispatchers that we've acquired, that we've been able to partner with, they actually handle a lot of that for our carriers. So they'll be able to help you find loads, to help keep you busy, but they'll also take on the credit checking, making sure that they're good with the factoring company, and invoicing your paperwork.
Mhm.
So it's a great partnership. Again, because they're vetted, we make sure that they offer the kind of service that we expect, right?
Mhm.
This isn't something where the carrier is going to start talking with them and they're like, these guys are absolutely terrible, right? We want to make sure these partnerships are solid. We don't just allow anybody to work with us on the dispatching side. Uh, we want to know that they have years of experience. I've talked with guys that I've set up with dispatching where I go back and talk with them after they've had that conversation. I say, hey, how'd it go? What'd you
Mhm.
think? What'd you think about their experience? Do you think they can help your business? Because again, we care. If I just wanted to say, hey, well, here's the dispatcher, talk with them, hopefully they can help you out, right? That's not the intent. We want to find the right dispatcher for you, get you connected, and get you moving.
Because you're building our knowledge, you're building our confidence, and we're establishing these lines, with our freight, with our finances, and again, empowering success stories. Porter Freight becomes your floaties, right?
That's right.
Until we swim.
Exactly. I saw like
Comfortable,
I
right?
saw you, it's like the chicken dance.
I'm comfortable here, but I want you to learn to swim, and that's a great thing. You want us to succeed, and using Port of Freight to guide us, to be successful in our route to swim. And also when I get off swimming, my trucking business is going. That's where the word of mouth and the referrals are going to come in to the next person talking about it. Hey, I thought about getting my. Well, let me tell you about my experience. It's huge.
Yeah,
It's huge. And networking, building that trust, trucking camaraderie and unity, right,
there you go.
is super important. And something I want to go into is, as you've probably known from being in the trucking industry, it's about trust. Okay. It's about trust. And in uniting veteran truck drivers, millennial truck drivers, bringing them together, regardless if we like it or not. I always talk about evolution. The trucking industry is constantly evolving. So, with a good experience somewhere or a bad experience, you're going to relay that, to another driver. So, evolving is super important. The other thing I had kept asking you is how, if somebody's comfortable in their business and the way it's ran. I'm going to ask you right here. How can we competitively um, introduce a new service to someone? Hey, it's Jacinda Lady Truck'n. I've been over here at blah, blah, blah for 25 years and it works.
Yeah,
What makes you think I want to change?
definitely.
Will? Will?
Putting me on the spot, man. Jeez. One of the mean customer calls. Yikes.
What are
Um,
you doing?
what are you gonna do for me?
Yeah,
This
what are you
company
gonna
does
do?
everything. Now what? So a lot of it, I always say it comes down to, you know, questions, asking questions. What do they provide to you? What do you like? Is there anything you don't like? Are they helping you out with loads? Do they offer things like fuel cards? Do you feel like your rate's competitive enough? Do you get charged these little fees here and there that, maybe you rather put that money back in your pocket, right?
Mhm,
So a lot of it's going to come from really just kind of digging in on these questions to try to
mhm,
see if there is something that maybe they're not fulfilling that they want fulfilled. Maybe there's something where it's like, hey, they don't do these kind of things for me that you said that you guys do. It's okay.
mhm,
Well, would that make your life easier? Because if so, hey, we're a great option for you. Um, so I typically like to lean in with just asking questions. I don't want to just jump into, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get you the cheapest rate, this side of the Mississippi, right? It's like, no. With that many years of experience,
mhm,
you already know rate's not going to be everything, right?
mhm,
So those conversations typically go a little bit different. You don't want to approach it all the same.
mhm.
And every single carrier is going to be different too on what they're looking for and what their goals are. So we would have never approach, everybody the same. We want to really try to dig in on what they're looking for to see if there's pain points that we can, try to help relieve.
And we like those tough questions. We've experienced you together, and we encourage those. You know, getting over asking questions. You might be missing something, or there might be something else you need to know, you know, to advance in that. And I really appreciate that, because I told you I've gotten some tough questions and I brought them to you because it was so the comments, the questions, and with the confidence in what Porter Freight can offer, it is backed. And so we encourage people, you know, our callers, our listeners, our followers, to ask those tough questions, because not only are they being educated, they're growing us.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. You definitely want to be able to, ask as many questions as you can. If there's any advice I give any carrier that, is trying to get things figured out, is ask questions. How else are you going to learn? And you can tell, in my opinion, I feel like you can tell the difference between someone that's trying to help you versus someone that's trying to sell you. And if the conversation is really short and quick, and they're really not digging in on what you're looking for and what your goals are, chances are, they're really not looking out for your best interests. So, have those conversations, set aside some time to actually sit down and be really methodical about the factoring companies. How are you talking to them? Write out questions, write a list of questions that you want to ask, and see where it takes you. And again, the good ones are going to be able to spend some time on the phone with you. The
Mhm.
ones that are really just trying to rush through and get that sale done so move on to the next, you'll be able to know. So yeah, it's a great way to differentiate.
And something else that I've been asked that I want to share is we went from Porter Freight billing to Porter Freight funding. Tell us a little bit about that, and clarify the process, that the service and the offerings haven't changed, but just the name change. I've had people, they were really familiar with Porter Freight billing. So tell us how that came about in transitioning to Porter Freight funding.
Yeah, so we really wanted to encompass and focus more on the transportation side. The name itself, we wanted to something that just more directly reflected transportation. So Porter Freight Funding really just kind of brought it home for us. Porter Billing Services, some people were like, you guys just like a billing company, or what do you do, right? So we wanted to just kind of put that to rest, and hammer in that nail and just say, okay, you know what? We want people to know we're in transportation. Now on, we're Porter Freight Funding. And yeah, so it's a cool rebranding. It was like you said, it's nothing's changed on our service side. We still deliver the great service. We still, talk to carriers the same way that we usually do, educating and trying to help every step of the way. But it was just a name change. Nothing super crazy. Again, everything is what we've done the past 30 years to keep us in business and growing and striving for greatness is still behind the name of Porter Freight Funding. So
Absolutely. Well, we have a great team there at Porter Freight Funding. Yes, to Mr. Porter, Mr. Lamb, for bringing us all together here as an amazing, strong team to help the trucking industry. And if there's anything else you want to share with us for before the evening, it's been like an
yeah, like I mentioned before, it's when it comes down to financing for your business, just be aware, ask questions, poke and prod, even if it may be awkward. Do what you got to do. At the end of the day, what is best for your business.
Mhm.
That's really what's going to matter at the end of the day. You want to be able to vet people that are offering services to you. Really dig deep. Put the screws to them, because at the end of the day, they're going to be attached to your company in some way, shape, or form. And then especially in factoring, like I said before, just ask a lot of questions. Take some time to really set aside, hey, the first half of my day, I'm going to actually sit down and talk with these factoring companies. I've got my questions. Let me, drill these guys and see what they say. Who's trying to get the sale versus who's trying to help me. And that's my biggest encouragement.
Absolutely. Well, I'm extremely proud to be part of the Porter Freight Funding team. Thank you for
Oh,
having
yeah.
me. And tell us again, I'll share it too, where we can find Porter Freight Funding. We got Facebook, we got porterfreightfunding.com,
Yep.
we have a Twitter, we have an Instagram. So we're
Instagram.
accessible on every social media platform. Can be reached with your questions, comments. My personal portal, I've been referring people to, to get to us. But just growing together and within the trucking industry
Yeah.
as one. Trucking fam, right?
Oh yeah.
Building camaraderie and unity. So I appreciate you coming on the show tonight. Very informative, very resourceful. And I just thank you for your time, and thank you, Porter Freight, for joining us this evening.
Yeah. Thanks, Truckin' Fam. Thanks for having me on, Jacinda. Definitely appreciate it. Anybody interested in joining the Porter Freight Funding family, we're here. Give us a call. We'll get everything set up for you and get you informed and help you out.
Awesome. Thank you, Will. It's Will Leyva with Porter Freight Funding. Thank you for coming on tonight. It's Jacinda Lady Truck'n and Will coming at ya.
Coming at ya.